start out, I don't know if you caught the Republican debate last night. I'm guessing probably many of you did not, just because, I mean, which is more fun, banging your head against the wall for a half hour or watching the Republican debate? You know, drinking lye or watching the Republican debate? You know, running naked down the street when it's 30 below zero or watching the Republican debate? I mean, it's just, you know, it's sort of like that, right? But, you know, one of the things when Vivek and these are things that I'm not seeing reported in the media. Vivek Ramaswamy said that a Nazi named Zelensky. Zelensky's Jewish. He had family die in the Holocaust, and he's calling him a Nazi? His campaign later clarified, well, he didn't quite mean that or something like. He said it. Come on. You know, wearing cargo pants. Named Zelensky. And then, you know, when they get into this conversation about Ukraine, Ron DeSantis says American soldiers will never be on the ground in Europe if I'm president. Really? In other words, we're not going to fulfill Article 5 NATO requirement. You know, Russia takes Ukraine and then moves into Poland. I mean, it sure sounded like that's what he said. Again, I saw nothing about this in the media today. It's like, why does the press obsess on anything a Democrat says and ignores what Republicans say? It's mind-boggling. I mean, everybody, all the media today is about, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy being called a scum by Nikki Haley. Well, yeah, okay, but that's like, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with public policy? You know, the fact that virtually all of these Republicans were saying, yes, we need to ban abortions nationwide. Nikki Haley was the only one who was saying, you know, good luck with that. It ain't going to happen. You're never going to get 2/3 of the Senate or, you know, 60 votes in the Senate to make it happen. But, you know, they're banging their heads against the wall to do it anyway. It's like, I mean, this is where it's just so weird. Donald, for example, you know, we all, and this, I realize this is a Jerry Ford example, but Mark Sumner mentions this over at Daily Kos today, and I think he's just spot on. Those of you old enough to remember will recall that during one of the debates when Jerry Ford was running for president, or for Carter, in one of the debates, Jerry Ford said, Eastern Europe is not a threat to the United States. It's not, you know, it's not, and at the time, Eastern Europe was controlled by the Soviet Union. You know, Hungary, Poland, you know, all these countries, they were all part of the Soviet bloc, right? The Soviet Union did not disintegrate until the 1990s. And to account for that for years, I mean, you know, that he made that verbal blunder. And right after the debate, he was like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. I meant Western Europe, not Eastern Europe. And still they similarly, Joe Biden. Search on the internet for Joe Biden and gaffe, G-A-F-F-E, you know, stupid comment. And here's, again, Mark Sumner pointing this out. Here's CNN devoting 500 words to Biden incorrectly naming an Irish rugby team. Another article about the same thing from USA Today, another from The Guardian. You know, anything Joe Biden says or anytime he does anything, it's just, so last night, Donald Trump held a rally right down the road, you know, same county, right down the street from the Republican debate. And in that rally, Trump said, quote, Viktor Orban, Hungary, very powerful. He fronts on both Russia and Ukraine. He knows them both very well. He told me a lot of things. Great guy. Well, Viktor Orban, well, first of all, last week, Trump said Viktor Orban was the president of Turkey. And that didn't get reported in the media. So last night, at least he got, then he says, you know, Hungary shares a border with Russia. I'm sorry, what's between Hungary and Russia is the entire country of Ukraine. So, you know, Trump doesn't, I mean, this is just a fundamental error. And then he goes on, he's talking about Kim Jong-un, a dictator of North Korea, a country with 21 million people in it. And he says, Kim Jong-un leads 1.4 billion people about who the boss is, and they want me to say he's not an intelligent man. What? He doesn't run a country of 1.4 billion people. And nobody cares what you say about him. And why are we praising a bloodthirsty dictator? Excuse me, it's 26 million people in North Korea. I mean, this is just... And then the New York Times, here's the kicker to the whole thing. The New York Times covered Trump's rally. Did they point out his gap they do whenever Biden says something wrong? Not one word. Instead, they said they called it a kind of Make America Great Again festival. They talked about the food trucks. They talked about the T-shirts. They explained how Donald Trump compared Joe Biden to Fidel Castro. But did they point out that, Trump doesn't know that Hungary doesn't share a border with Russia? Nope. Did they point out that Trump doesn't know that Kim Jong-un doesn't have a country with 1.3 billion people in it? Or alternatively, that President Xi doesn't run North Korea? I mean, it's one or the other, right? In Trump's, not a word. Times. It's mind-boggling. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.